The following is presented for educational purposes only. Neither I nor my associates endorse any of the criminal activities described here. Additionally, this is only a generalized description that does not account for every member or aspect of Fantifa, a decentralized social movement, without any regulations, and thus without a precise definition. You've probably heard of Antifa, the topical anti-fascist movement of anarchists, and, more broadly, anyone engaged in general anti-fascism. But if you live in America, you probably haven't heard of Fantifa. What is Fantifa? Fantifa is Antifa's sister movement, centered on female anti-fascists and specific concerns relevant to the lives of women. It developed in Germany in the late 80s and has since spread to other countries, but hasn't yet taken root in North America. Its name is a contraction of either feminist anti-fascism or Frauen, women's, anti-fascism. Both interpretations are commonly accepted. Though Frauen doesn't work in English, we can swap it out with female to achieve basically the same effect. As an offshoot of the main Antifa movement, the F is sometimes indicated to be tacked on the front with a different color, or separating it from the A with an asterisk or underscore, but is pronounced like one word. Like how Antifa usually means the anarchists who go around demonstrating against and potentially fighting neo-Nazis, and also technically means everyone else who performs anti-fascist actions, like the Allied soldiers in World War II, Fantifa usually pertains specifically to feminist anarchists who go around demonstrating against neo-Nazis, as well as other relevant causes, but technically refers to any woman-centric anti-fascist group, such as the 1930s Spanish women's anarchist organization Mujeres Libres, that opposed the rise of fascism during the Spanish Civil War, or any women's branch of anti-fascist movements, such as the 1934 French women's branch of the World Committee Against War and Fascism. The principal Fantifa movement holds an anarcho-feminist ideology rooted in anarcho-communism with a feminist spin. Their main symbol is a combination of both the purple and black anarcho-feminist flag and the red and black Antifa symbol. Though competing symbols do exist, such as a Spanish blue and black Antifa emblem, the purple variant seems to be winning, with purple flags showing up in Spain and Brazil. What does Fantifa believe? As a feminist anti-fascist movement, they are primarily organized against modes of fascism that are either composed of women or uniquely affect women. Instead of conceptualizing the struggle against fascism as about two teams of strong men fighting each other, they recognize how women contribute to both the fascist and anti-fascist movements. Fantifa rejects the regressive view of gender held by some feminists that men are naturally aggressive and women are naturally peaceful, as this obscures the reality that some women can be dangerous fascists and others can be militant anti-fascists. Fantifa studies fascism as a movement based around the romanticization of traditional gender roles and patriarchal aggression. It holds that to target fascism at its root causes, society must develop a more egalitarian view of gender and gender roles. Feminism is therefore seen as essential to the defeat of fascism, and anyone who does not embrace it would have some problematic fascist traits that they need to work out. One cause central to Fantifa is abortion access, which is characterized as an anti-fascist cause because restrictions on such are an expression of eugenics. In Germany, where Fantifa originated, legal restrictions on abortion literally came out of the Nazi government. Abortion was banned for white Germans because the retention of whiteness was seen as essential to the Nazi regime. After the supposed denazification of the German government, policies not directly connected to the war or the Holocaust were deemed reasonable to reproduce in West Germany. So a couple of former Nazis, Dr. Friedrich Bergdorfer and Dr. Ferdinand Utter, I think is how you pronounce those, reinstated eugenics policies under the guise of trying to help the economy. Where men's Antifa groups completely ignored the efforts of feminists to gain abortion rights as something irrelevant to anti-fascism, Fantifa investigated an anti-abortion advocacy group and determined that it was run by Dr. Utter, a man who, as a Nazi, had made a statement on the importance of preserving whiteness through keeping white women having white babies. This aspect of the anti-fascist conflict would have gone unaddressed if Fantifa hadn't been around to identify it as a form of fascism. Though Fantifa initially subscribed to hardcore second and third wave radical feminism, following the adoption of Judith Butler's gender theory in 2000's Germany, Fantifa now holds a strong trans-positive ideology in line with fourth wave feminism. Trans-exclusionary radical feminists, TERFs, are identified as fascist and opposed. In general, Fantifa has always been queer-positive, recognizing that gay people were persecuted by Nazis, and to be uplifted as part of the Fantifa core belief system. Lesbians in particular formed a major component of Fantifa in the 90s. These days, Fantifa holds up FLINTA, an acronym standing for Frauen, women, lesbians, intersex people, non-binary people, transgender people, and agender people as the people it uplifts in the opposition of patriarchy. From a racial standpoint, Fantifa recognizes the importance of Black and Jewish activists within the movement as a function of opposing the white supremacist aspect of fascism. Paying homage to intersectionality was a key part of Fantifa even before the integration of Butler's ideas. Perhaps for this reason, members of Fantifa may be more likely to stand in solidarity with Israel and characterize the anti-Zionist movement as an anti-Semitic fascist movement than those of the larger anti-imperialist faction that stands against Israel. Aside from using a feminist lens to oppose fascism, Fantifa brings a critical perspective to the handling of gender issues within Antifa. Though anti-fascist men may oppose sexism in theory, they may still unintentionally engage in sexist behavior. One of the first major changes Fantifa brought to Antifa was to create on-site daycare to allow women with children to participate, without needing to be stuck at home to take care of the children. Something men's Antifa hadn't even considered could be a problem. The general barriers of entry to male workplaces, such as men sharing key pieces of information among themselves but not to women, are also known to apply to Antifa groups. The male Antifa group's propensity to perform rape culture and not adequately creating safe environments for female Antifa members, when male Antifa members may be identified as rapists, particularly highlights why Fantifa would be more attractive to women. What does Fantifa do? Like the wider Antifa movement, Fantifa demonstrates against fascists and those identified as carrying out fascist agendas. Unlike men's Antifa groups, Fantifa identifies fascist enemies according to feminist ideology and may zero in on Christian groups promoting regressive policies, such as eugenic-style abortion restrictions or attacks on transgender rights. They are also involved in general feminist activities, such as protesting violent men and investigating pickup artists. Protesting against oppressive government policies is also in the realm of their anti-fascist agenda, and they may engage in direct action methods, such as damaging border fences, to prevent their utility of halting migrations. When applicable, they do engage literal neo-Nazis and work to create safe environments for marginalized groups. Direct action methods for them include vandalizing Nazi vehicles and setting off stink bombs in Nazi establishments to discourage neo-fascist activity. However, they do not punch Nazis before the Nazis present an imminent threat. Fantifa holds the Antifa instruction to immediately punch Nazis on the mouth as a pointless exercise in machismo, serving only to make an Antifa man feel manly, while motivating a shamed Nazi to hit back harder next time. Fantifa prefers nonviolent approaches with the ability to commit violence held in reserve, for when Nazis present an imminent threat. Their demonstrations have a defensive perimeter of members trained in Wendo, a modern martial art designed for women, in case Nazis become aggressive. Because Fantifa direct action involves damage to inanimate objects, this technically makes them not a peaceful movement. However, because they only prepare for fights and do not start them, neither are they a violent movement. In the context of political activism, violence is defined by hurting people, not property. Who are members of Fantifa? As a decentralized movement, there are no barriers for entry into the broader Fantifa movement. Anyone dedicated to combating fascism and patriarchy can identify with the label and engage with the community. However, individual Fantifa groups often restrict entry from men, or at least cis-dyadic men. This is not universal, but is common. The The vast majority of Fantifa members are white, cis, able-bodied, middle-class women. Why haven't I heard of it? In my opinion, this is probably for a couple of reasons. One, because women are constantly marginalized and underrepresented. Even in a leftist space, only a modicum of attention is paid to women's work and specific ideological frameworks. Women must advocate for themselves again and again and again. Second, because mainstream Antifa, as represented by groups like Antifa International, doesn't like Fantifa that much and doesn't want it to propagate. Fantifa stands against several aspects of mainstream Antifa culture, including the general atmosphere of machismo, as has led to the idea that the only interaction with neo-Nazis should be with fists, and that it's everyone's responsibility to punch them on the mouth. The fact that an Antifa faction can disagree with the mainstream Antifa interferes with their ability to represent Antifa as on the same page, without dissent, with every ideological aspect settled and uncontested. Presenting all members of Antifa as in broad agreement projects an appearance of strength and unity, which to oppose would mean that one would definitionally represent the enemy of antifascism, fascism. However, the truth is that it's as fractured and incomplete as any ideological framework, including notably feminism. Where can I look for more information? Unfortunately, most sources are in German. If you're not able to read any German, I recommend the English Wikipedia page for Fantifa, which I pretty much unilaterally wrote from the ground up. It cites various sources, mostly in German, and summarizes them in English. If you can read German, I absolutely recommend the 2013 book Fantifa, Feministische Perspektiven antifaschistischer Politik, Feminist Perspectives on Anti-Fascist Politics, a retrospective on the development of Fantifa with some scans of news clippings. Thank you for watching. Give my video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and consider donating to me on Patreon to support my efforts to educate people on feminist and anti-fascist topics. Thank you, and no passaran.